Hey guys, Jen here. I wanted to do something today that I haven't done yet, and so I make a lot of videos and I talk a lot about the things that I believe in and the stuff that I think is what's happening in the industry, and just really sharing my opinion on a lot of different things. And there's one subject in particular, one topic rather, that I have not really talked very much about. So I talk about it sometimes and I sort of dance around the subject, but I've never really come out and shared my full, 100%, this is what I believe about this topic. And so I'm going to do that today. And you may not like it because it's definitely not an opinion that everybody shares, but I definitely feel like it's time to really take a stand for it because, there's no sense in me not anymore. So I'm going to do that. And that topic is self publishing. So I never really talked about this very much because I don't know, I guess I just was always worried that if I did, that I would offend people or that people would get pissed off or, be upset about it. But the honest truth is, it doesn't matter. You might be, and that's fine. I can't worry about what people think. I have to just speak from the heart, and I need to talk about the things that matter and the things that I believe to be true. And so that's what I'm going to do. And so traditional publishing. So that's one of those things that's kind of a big topic in our industry, right? So everybody wants to get traditionally published, or so many writers want to get traditionally published, and they think like, I'm going to get an agent and then I'm going to get published, and all these things that they tell themselves. But here's what I really believe about traditional publishing, and that is that it's fucking stupid. So unless there are only two in my mind, two reasons why you would ever go the traditional publishing route. Number one is if you already have a following. So you're somebody famous, you're somebody who's already been growing a following, you're someone who did something that now you've got a lot of news coverage or a lot of press coverage, and so people have all eyes on you and they're interested in what you're doing, and so you've actually gotten a traditional publisher or an agent to come to you and say, we would love to publish a book that you've written, we would love to help you write a book, or we'd love to republish a book you've already published. Let's say if you're for the example, like Amanda Hocking, who I will talk about in a little bit, but there are a lot of published authors, self-published authors out there who were able to get traditional publishing deals because of the fact that they, grew a following and all of that. So if that is your case, then traditional publishing is totally cool. That's the first time. The second time is if you are one of those people who it has been a dream, a lifelong dream, or something that's deeply seated in you, a dream that you want to be traditionally published. So it's a dream of yours to have a publisher. And if you didn't make that happen, you would really die feeling like you failed in life. And if that is true for you, 100% true for you, then that is another reason why you would want to go traditional publishing. But if either of those things are not true for you, then going the traditional route is stupid. The digital age has brought us the opportunity to do professional self-publishing, to put our own books out there, and to control our writing careers. So rather than just wasting our time trying to get an agent, trying to find a publisher, dealing with rejection, dealing with the opinions of all these people in the industry who think they know what they're talking about, but everybody has a different opinion, and everybody's got, you should do this, you should do that, this works, this doesn't, this is what we're buying now, this is what's selling now, whatever. But instead of listening to all that, instead of wasting, potentially 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years of your life, maybe even more, trying to get an agent, trying to get a publisher, just publish your book, professionally publish your book, self-publish it, and put it out there, and then get working on the next book. Because you know what? The best way to sell a book is to write and publish another one. And that's just what I believe, and that's what I've been experiencing in my writing career. And so that's what I'm, now going to take a stand for, is being a self-published author, professionally self-published. And what I mean by that is you did not just write something and put it on Amazon, but you actually had an editor look at it, you had some beta readers look at it, you had a good cover designer to, make your cover look good. Unless you know how to do that kind of stuff and actually do a good professional level job, you need to hire people to help you, to support you in making this book as professional as it would be if it was coming from a traditional publisher. And that's what professional self-publishing is. That's what I do, that's what I teach, and that's what I believe in. And if you aren't doing it that way, then you shouldn't be self-publishing. You should probably not be doing any type of writing out at all. If you're not willing to invest in your writing career, not willing to invest in the stuff you're putting out there, even if you barter with somebody, find somebody who's an editor or somebody who's willing to trade skills with you or trade reads with you or something like that, so you have somebody to give you some support. You don't need everybody. So, a lot of times when you go traditional route, you have all these extra people telling you what to do and telling you should change things and making the book that they want to see. And it's really not the book you want to see anymore. So, obviously you can't just write anything and put it out there. I totally believe in story structure and in craft and all of that stuff. But if you've done all those things and then you have a book that goes traditional publishing, they will potentially tear it apart, change things, and try to make it into this book that fits the whatever picture they have of the current marketplace. So of course it wouldn't be the current marketplace, it would be the marketplace coming 18 months away, because when you publish a book traditionally, once you finally get it accepted, it takes another 18 months or so to get the damn thing out there. So it could take years and years of your life, while if you just self-published, you could get the next book out there. So in 6 years you could either get an agent, get a publisher, and then get your book out, or you could get 6 books out. It's the difference between just getting yourself out there and growing a following and making that writing career that you dream of having right now happen right now, versus having to wait on somebody else making the decisions, making the choices, telling you what you're allowed to have for your writing career, telling you what book is going to be the one that they sell and all of that. Or you can just decide it for yourself. And that's what I chose to do, because I looked at the traditional publishing route, and honestly, it just pissed me off. It really made me mad, because what's the point? You're going to do all the work anyway, so even if they finally sell your book and a publisher accepts it, you're still going to have to do all the work yourself. Once the book is out there, they might do a cover design for you and they might put together a nice little publishing package or whatever, but you're going to have to do the marketing. You're going to have to sell the book, and they aren't going to support you very much in doing that unless you are somebody who's already well known, who they know they'd be willing to put the money on the line for, to send on a book tour or to, get to do an event of some kind, because they're going to get that money back. They're not going to take that kind of a risk on a brand new author or on somebody who hasn't been published or hasn't had a following or isn't well known yet. They're not going to put that risk out there. And so you're going to do all the work, and you're not going to reap the benefit from it, because even if you were lucky enough to get an advance, which sometimes happens and sometimes doesn't, but if you were lucky enough to get one, you have to pay that back before you're going to see a cent from your book. And a lot of times authors never pay that advance back because they never sell enough books to. And so it's like totally giving up, control of your career. It's like saying, hey, I wrote this book, I'm ready to put it out there, but first let me give it to somebody else to, decide if it's good enough or decide if it's worthy of being published. Fuck that shit. That is total BS. Totally not necessary, not in this digital age. In this digital age, you do not need that. There are no more gatekeepers. There are no more people trying to stop you. There is just you connecting directly with your reader. And you know what? It's about the readers. The readers are the ones who are going to make up the decision on whether or not the book's any good. That's who's going to decide. The people who read it, who buy it, who write reviews, that's who's making these decisions on whether or not your book is good. That's it. And that's all you need. As long as you've professionally put your book together and you haven't just slapped something together and stuck it online, you've actually done the work, got somebody to help you, made sure that the edits were good, made sure that it sounds good and it looks good, and everything is, professionally as it would be if it came from a traditional publisher, then you're good. And you don't have to worry about finding an agent, finding a publisher, and waiting. See, for me, I could never do the waiting thing, because I have no patience, and when I'm finished with something, I want to get it out there and I want to move on to the next thing. So if I had to keep waiting, if I had to keep doing more revisions for an agent or more revisions for an editor, I could not handle that shit. I would never have my career, because I would lose my mind, I would rip all my hair out, and I could not deal with it. Some writers can, and that's totally cool, but I'm not one of them. And so for me, self-publishing was absolutely the best fit. Not to mention, I have actually been thinking about being a self-published author since I was 13 years old. So I wrote my first novella when I was 13. This was back in 1996. And self-publishing was just starting to become this thing. It was this new trend that was sort of starting out. It was early, very early days. And it was very expensive. It was like $2,500, $3,000 to get a book out there, because there just wasn't a lot of that kind of stuff going on. There wasn't an affordable, way to make the books, to make them, to put them together, to get them out there. And of course, at that point, there was not really any digital readers or anything like that. So you didn't have the ability to put it on a Kindle or put it on a Kobo or something like that. So you only had the option to have the print copies, which obviously back then print copies were very expensive. So I just knew, like, when I wrote my novella, I knew I wanted to publish it. I was looking at traditional publishing, I was looking at self-publishing, and I just felt this pull on self-publishing. It just felt like the right road for me. And so I just knew all that time when I eventually got my novel out, I would be a self-published version of it. And I also knew that I would eventually write something else, and I would probably self-publish that too, which I did. So my very first book that I self-published was in 2010, and I didn't even have, I mean, actually the book wasn't even on Amazon at that point. I was selling it strictly through my website, and that was the only way you could buy it. It was a PDF, and you would download it. I think I charged $10 for the first week and $20 after that, and I made almost $4,000 from that book over the last, well, I mean, before I put it on Amazon. So I put it on Amazon in 2012, so about 2 years. I made about $4,000 from the book, which is pretty awesome considering that I'm self-published, and it wasn't even on Amazon. It was selling completely through my website, which is pretty awesome. But that's the whole point. You do not need a publisher anymore because there are tools at your disposal now that you can access at any time that are very low cost, and some are free, and you can put your stuff out there. And if you do a good enough job, you can actually be successful with it. So I professionally self-publish. I have an editor. I have people who look at my stuff before I put it out there. I have either a professional cover designer who does some of my work, or if I do my own, I use a very professional software to actually make it look good, and I will make sure that, you know, I have an eye for design. That's something that I was always interested in, so I've kind of been, you know, messing with my own designs over the years, and so I like to design my own book covers. But I have a background in journalism, and I've also had lessons in, you know, design and what a book is supposed to look like, layout, and all of that stuff. So I have training that has taught me what I need to know. So I do hire a designer sometimes, and sometimes I do my own. But the point is, it's all professional because I know what I'm doing. I'm not just half-assing it because I don't want to spend money on a cover design. So that's what matters. That's the professional self-publishing part. So I have been able to get 7 books out there, all self-published, and the last 2 that I put out, one of them was a multi-category bestseller on Amazon, and between the 2 of them, I have sold over 1,000 books in 30 days. So last month in June, I sold over 1,000 books in 30 days. Sounds crazy, right? But it's totally possible when you are professionally self-published and you have a following. That is what it takes. It takes knowing, you know, what you're doing, and if you don't know what you're doing, finding somebody who does and getting them to help you, professionally self-publishing, and then growing a following. And if you can do those 2 things, you can be a self-published author. You don't need to ever go the traditional route. In fact, you never have to if you don't want to. So you can get to a place where you're making multiple 6 figures from your book sales, and you don't need a traditional publisher, not ever. In fact, there are traditionally published authors who are no longer keeping their contracts with their publishers, and they're starting to publish themselves because they realize they don't need them. They've got a huge following. Their books sell with no problem. They hit the New York Times bestseller list every single time. What do they need the publisher for? They don't. They don't need them. So they're doing their own thing now, and they're making way more money from all the work that they put in, and it's way more worth it to them. So that is just some of the reasons why self-publishing is the best way to go. And again, there are 2 reasons why you would go traditional, and I talk about those. I talked about those in the beginning of this video, so if you didn't catch them, be sure to go back and check that out. But honestly, I just don't really believe in traditional publishing unless you're to a place where it's worth it. So I'm going to tell you the story now of Amanda Hocking. So Amanda Hocking was a self-published author who had, she wrote a bunch of novels. So over a 9-year period, she wrote a bunch of novels. She pitched a bunch of novels to agents, to publishers, and she got rejected tons of times, just over and over again, kept getting rejected. And so, you know, her books weren't out there. And then something ended up happening. So she wanted to go on a trip to Chicago to see an exhibit at this museum, and she didn't have the money to do it. And so she thought, okay, well, what can I do to get some extra money? And so one of the things she thought about was, oh, I could, you know, publish one of my novels. So she put one of her books up on Amazon, and it started selling. So this had to do a lot with her category and the fact that there was people, you know, hungry for books in that category. But she put the book up, it went for sale, and people started buying it. And all of a sudden she was selling 9 copies a day, and things were just adding up. And so she put another book on just to see what happened, and people were buying that one. So she put another one. And so she put all of her books on Amazon, self-published, and she started selling shitloads of books. I mean, she made over $1 million selling her books on Amazon. Self-published author, millions of dollars. What the fuck? Why would you go traditional? It makes no sense, right? I mean, yes, this is obviously not the norm for every single author, but the point is, it's possible. If it's possible for her, it is possible for you, it is possible for me, it is possible for all of us. So Why go the traditional route? Why waste the time? Why spend the exhaustion of reworking and rewriting and repitching and redoing and oh, it just makes me crazy. It's like just such a waste of time. And it's like, how much life do you think you have? Like, live every single day and don't let other people stop you from getting your stuff out there. So self-publish, get your stuff out there. And when you do that, you can grow a following. You can sell books. And then guess what happened to Amanda Hocking? Well, these big publishers came to her and said, oh, hey, we see that you sell a lot of books. We see that you make a lot of money. Oh, we see you have a lot of readers. We would love to offer you $2 million to publish your books. Bingo. That is when you go the traditional publishing route. When they're going to give you so much money that it's worth your while to go the traditional publish route. Do you not think that they're going to give Amanda Hocking money for a book tour, to give her money to do events and things? Of course they are, because they know they're going to make that money back. They know that they're going to get way more readers for her because their reach is even bigger than hers is, and they're going to get her more book sales, tons more. And so, of course, they know they're going to make that $2 million back. They're going to make way more than that. And it's worth it to them to stick their necks out for it because she's already proven herself. So traditional publishing used to be the way to go. It used to be the thing to do because that was really the only way to get a book out there. But this is not true anymore. The digital age has knocked down the barriers, and now you have direct access to readers. You don't need the gatekeeper. You don't need the publisher. You can just grow your own following. I mean, yeah, you're going to have to learn how to do marketing. You're going to have to learn how to grow a fan base, but you can totally make this happen. If I've done it, you can do it because I am not any different than you. The only difference between me and you is that I took action and I got myself to where I wanted to go, and I continue to do that. That's all you got to do. And if you do the same thing, you will eventually be exactly where you want to be. So if you are interested in self-publishing, do not deny yourself of it. If you are fed up with the traditional route, if you are sick of waiting, sick of sitting around and getting rejected and doing all the things that traditional publishing forces you into doing, then don't do it anymore. Choose the self-publishing route because it will make such a difference to your writing career. It will allow you to create exactly the writing life that you dream of having and things that you could never even imagine. Do you think that I ever imagined I would sell 1,000 books in 1 month? I mean, that wasn't even something I even thought about before because I just didn't see that it would be possible. I didn't see how it would happen, so I never really allowed myself to think about it. But all of a sudden I started seeing all these book sales, and I just happened to look and check my account out at the end of last month, and it was like, holy shit, like I've almost sold 1,000 books this month. How did that happen? Like, I don't even know how it happened, to be honest. It just happened. And it's like, I don't know. Is it the fact that I finally got aligned with the career that I wanted? Is it the fact that I'm, finally writing about topics that are what people are interested in? I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into it, and there's a lot of momentum behind it. But the point is, it happened. And if it happened for me, it can happen for you. So that's what you need to know about self-publishing, and that is the stand that I am taking because I absolutely believe that self-publishing is the best way to take control of your writing destiny, and that is what I am all about, right? So if you want to learn how to grow a following as a self-published author, if you want to learn how to get a fan base, how to start getting people on your email list, and how to start making a splash out there so you can sell books either when you get them out there or if you already have books out there, then be sure to check out my upcoming workshop where I'm going to teach you how to build a following online so that you can have subscribers, you can have readers, and so you can have people who are going to buy your books. You can learn more about this workshop by going to jenniferblanchard.net/follow me. Catch you next time.